What's going on, guys? This is Top Tier Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm Antoine Steele. Today I'm here to bring you a guide to Cosmos. So this is going to be on how you use Cosmos against the rest of the meta, and how to win with them. So, what are Cosmos? Well, Cosmos are a new archetype released in the latest set, Clash of Rebellions. There were 5 cards released, each of which have really good effects, and so this archetype, although it's new, has a lot of potential, especially considering that future support will be coming. So, let's go ahead and get into what the individual cards do. So first, we have Cosmo Farm Girl. This is the money card of the archetype. It's a level 3 light psychic monster with 1500 attack, 1000 defense. The effect is that during either player's turn, you can banish this card to special summon one level 4 or higher Cosmo monster from your hand, and then you can only use that effect once per turn. And then, when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can pay 500 life points to add one Cosmo card from your deck to your hand. So that second part is the money effect. It can search any Cosmo card, including the field spell. And in the future, when there are other spell and traps, I'm sure it'll be able to search them as well as the new monsters when they are released. So, next we have Cosmo Good Witch, a level 4 psychic monster with 1800 attack, 1000 defense. Has the same first effect to where during either player's turn you can banish it to summon a higher level Cosmo monster from your hand. And then it has the second effect to where you can pay 500 life points to target one face-up monster your opponent controls and change that to face-down defense. So that's really useful for getting over monsters with, really high attack, because most of them don't have really good defense as well. And then as well as being another level 4 or lower Cosmo monster that you can normal summon and then use to summon your higher level ones. We have Cosmo Slip Rider. The effect is that when it's summoned, you can target one spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. So on either player's side of the field. So you can destroy your own spell or traps if you have to. And then also, when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard to special summon a lower level Cosmo from your deck. So it floats. So it's a card that you can search with Farm Girl, destroy spell or traps, and can search you more Farm Girl. Seems pretty good to me. The last monster is Cosmo Forerunner. Level 7 light machine type, 2800 attack, 1400 defense. It cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effects. During your standby phase, you gain 1000 life points, and when its card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon a lower level Cosmo from your deck. And also, I think I forgot to mention Slip Rider's stats. It's level 5 light machine, 2300 attack, 800 defense. So back to Forerunner. The most important thing about Forerunner is the 2800 attack, and that it can be targeted. So it's extremely hard to get off the field, and a lot of decks have trouble with dealing with it. And so a lot of times what you're going to end up doing with this deck is using Farm Girl's effect to search Forerunner, summon Forerunner, and then win with Forerunner. And then also you gain 1000 points during your standby phase, which pretty much pays for Farm Girl's search, Good Witch's effect. It pays for a lot of things in the deck. And so it's actually really useful to keep on your field. And then the 5th card is a field spell called Cosmo Town. And Cosmo Town is very good. In my opinion, definitely the best card in the deck. It has 3 different effects, all of which help you. The first effect is once per turn, target one of your banished Cosmo monsters and return it to the hand. If you do, you lose life points equal to the level times 100. So, Good Witch, you banish it to summon a monster. Farm Girl, you banish it to summon monsters. Slip Rider and Forerunner, both of those, you banish them to summon other monsters. Cosmo Town allows you to get back those cards so you can do it all over again. And pretty much allows you to use those effects for free. Sure, you take a little bit of damage, but that's fine. It's not much. The second effect is once per turn, you can reveal any number of Cosmo cards in your hand, shuffle them into your deck, and then draw an equal number of cards. So say you open bad hands with multiple Slip Riders or Forerunners or Good Witches, multiples of anything really, or just too many monsters. You can use Cosmo Town to return them to the deck and draw a new hand that's hopefully more ideal. And then finally, if this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can add one Cosmo card from your deck to your hand. So you can search itself, because it doesn't say Cosmo Monster, it's just Cosmo card. So again, in the future, when there may be more spell or traps, you could search those with Cosmo Town, as well as Farm Girl. And then also, it doesn't have to be destroyed by an opponent's card effect. You can destroy with your own card effect. So like Slip Rider, you can use that to destroy Cosmo Town if you need to search. And then also, I'd like to mention that it cannot miss timing when you chain MST to it. Because a lot of times I've seen people compare this card to Gear Town, to where Gear Town, you could play it, and then your opponent could chain MST, and then your Gear Town wouldn't resolve. The effect that would search your Ancient Gear, Gatatron Dragon, or whatever it was. Whereas if you chain MST to Cosmo Town, it will still resolve because it cannot miss timing. It's worded, if this card is destroyed, you can. And cards that are written with if this card, and then you can, those cards cannot miss timing. Only cards that are written as when this card is destroyed, you can. Those miss timing. But because this card has an if and not a when, it cannot miss the timing. So now that we know what the Cosmos are, let's talk about what the deck actually does, what the archetype does. Cosmos really focus around putting a lot of damage on board. They try to be very fast, put a lot of pressure on the opponent, and really put them into a position where they have to stop all of your attacks. If you look at Farm Girl, Farm Girl's effect happens when you do damage. So if you get one direct attack with a Farm Girl, that's 1500. You use Farm Girl's effect to search a Forerunner. Then when you summon Forerunner, that's 2800 more life points. So off of one direct attack, you can deal 4,300 points of damage, which is insane. That's more than half your opponent's life points off of one direct attack. If you have a Good Witch in your hand, then you can do the same thing, except you can banish Farm Girl to summon Good Witch, attack direct with Good Witch, banish Good Witch to summon Forerunner, attack direct with that for another 6,300 points of damage, yeah. And that's all off of one direct attack. So that's why it's so important to get your Farm Girl's effect off, because as soon as you get Farm Girl's effect off, it just opens up the floodgates and allows you to swarm in with your other monsters and deal insane amounts of damage very quickly. You just need one direct attack usually. That's all it takes. So now let's get into how to play Cosmos. There are two things I'd like to note. First is that you always want to go second with this deck. Because you center around Cosmo Farm Girl, which has to attack to do damage, and then, subsequently use the effect, you can't do that on your first turn, so there's no point in going first. You never want to go first with this deck because you cannot advance your game state. And then, if you are going first, don't summon your Farm Girl unless you can protect it, or unless you have a ship to summon it during your opponent's turn. And ideally, you really don't want to summon Farm Girl at all if you're going first, because if it gets destroyed and goes to the graveyard, then you cannot get it back. Once cards in this deck are in the graveyard, they are there. There's no way to get things back from the graveyard, so you want to protect your Farm Girl by not leaving it vulnerable in that kind of situation. Second, you have to understand how the battle phase works to use this deck, especially the damage step, because Farm Girl's effect happens during the damage step, so you have to be aware of what you and your opponent can and cannot do during the damage step. And then also, if your opponent attacks into like a Forerunner or a Slip Rider, their effects will trigger during the damage step, so you have to understand that. And also what you can do, like replays, things like that. You have to understand how the damage step works. So when you're playing Cosmos, you have two goals. The first goal is to resolve Farm Girl's effect, and then your second goal is to play Cosmo Town. So when playing Cosmo Town, it's not as important as resolving Farm Girl's effect, but Cosmo Town is very important in playing the rest of the duel. So you won't win just by resolving Farm Girl's effect, but you'll win by resolving Farm Girl's effect, banishing it to summon Forerunner, and then use Cosmo Town to get back that Farm Girl next turn, summon that Farm Girl, and attack again. So Cosmo Town allows you to do what you need to do without, banishing your monsters and losing them forever. So it pretty much gives you a lot of leeway to do what you need to do. And it also fixes your bad hands. So Cosmo Town is very necessary in order to play the deck well. So the first goal is when we say resolving Farm Girl's effect. So to do that, we have to successfully summon Farm Girl. And so let's talk about when you should be summoning Farm Girl. You never want to summon Farm Girl unless you will resolve the effect. You don't want to summon it and then not, because if it gets destroyed by something or anything happens to that Farm Girl, you can't get it back usually, and it's over. So you have to save your Farm Girls and use them conservatively. You can summon your Farm Girl 3 different ways. First from normal summoning, second from emergency teleport, and 3 from the effect of a Slip Rider or a Forerunner. So you should only normal summon or summon your Farm Girl off emergency teleport in 3 different situations. 1, you have a clear field, so there's nothing stopping you from attacking directly. 2, if they have monsters, you need to have a way to change Farm Girl's attack or lower theirs. So you need to have some sort of attack modification, like Forbidden Lance, Honest, Forbidden Dress, Jurighetto, anything like that. Somehow you have to do battle damage. And then third is if they have a lot of back row, you need a way to dodge that back row. So you need Forbidden Lance, MST, or another ship in your hand. So say you summon Farm Girl and then they play Mirror Force, you could use Farm Girl's effect to summon one of the ships, and then that gets destroyed, you get back your Farm Girl. So those are the only situations when you should be summoning your Farm Girl. If your opponent has a monster like set in defense, so like say you go second, and your opponent sets a monster, and the only monster you have is Farm Girl, you should not summon your Farm Girl and attack it, because there's no point. You're not going to deal any battle damage that way, and so there's no point in doing it. And then it would probably be better if that's your only monster to leave your field open and let them attack you. Because if they're setting monsters, they're probably not going to OTK you anyways, and you want them to have a monster and attack so you can deal battle damage over it. There are also only 3 situations when you should be summoning your Farm Girl off of a ship either. Those 3 situations are 1, when you have protection, so like an Honest, Forbidden Lands, Mirror Force, anything like that. Some way to protect your farm girl so it doesn't get destroyed. Second situation is when your opponent can't attack anymore. So, say they attack over your Slip Rider, it's their only monster, and then you summon a farm girl, they can't attack, and so your farm girl is safe. And then finally, the last situation where you should summon your farm girl off of a ship is when you have another one in your hand. So, say you have a Forerunner, they dark hole you. You summon a farm girl, and then they try to attack over it. Well, you have another Forerunner in your hand, so you can banish your farm girl, summon your Forerunner, you can go back to being aggressive, and then you can use your Cosmo Town to get back that farm girl. And then if Forerunner is destroyed, again you can search anything else with its effect. So that's the final situation in which you should summon your farm girl off of a ship's effect. So let's talk about how to play around traps. Because of course any good player is gonna do whatever they can to stop that farm girl summon. And so Farm Girl and Good Witch both have the ability to banish themselves to special summon higher level Cosmos from your hand. So what that can do is it allows you to dodge targeting effects. So if you summon a Cosmo Farm Girl and your opponent plays like a Compulse, Fiendish Chain, Breakthrough Skill, anything like that before you can attack, then you can banish that Farm Girl and summon anything else. And then that's good. You're in the clear. And then if you have Cosmo Town, you can get it back actually, which is even better because they just -1'd. So another situation is that the ships float. So if your opponent plays a card that doesn't target, so you summon a Farm Girl and then they play Torrential Tribute, what you can do is you can banish your Farm Girl for like a Forerunner. Forerunner will be destroyed, and then you can use Forerunner's effect to summon back another Farm Girl. And then again, if you have Cosmo Town, you can get back the first Farm Girl, and you're in a really good position at that point. But do be aware that you can't use Farm Girl's effect twice per turn, or more than once anyways per turn. And so if you do that, and then you summon back your Farm Girl, you use Farm Girl's effect to add like another Forerunner or Slip Rider or whatever, you cannot summon that search monster that turn with that Farm Girl. So that's important to note. But however, it's extremely important that you do not let your Farm Girl be touched by trap cards. Because again, when your cards go to the graveyard, they're stuck there. Especially your Farm Girl and Good Witches. So you never want to summon them in situations where they might be destroyed. So you'd always want to banish them for one of your higher level ones like a Slip Rider or a Forerunner because they do float. Let's say you have a Farm Girl and you attack and your opponent plays Mirror Force. You would never want to let your Farm Girl get Mirror Force. So what you'd want to do is special summon, use the effect to special summon a Slip Rider or a Forerunner, and then let that be destroyed by Mirror Force, so that its effect will trigger and allow you to summon back another Farm Girl. Or you can just summon your Slip Rider or your Forerunner in defense to avoid it altogether. It depends on the situation that you're in. But you definitely do not want your Farm Girl to be destroyed by Mirror Force, Torrential, or Deep Prison, anything like that. You definitely want your... I guess Deep Prison's not bad because you can get it back with Cosmo Town. But if it's anything that would send your Farm Girl to the graveyard, you do not want to let that happen if you can do anything about it. Another thing to mention is that Farm Girl and Good Witch, and I guess also all the monsters, they banish themselves as cost. And therefore, their effects can't be negated by like Effect Veiler, Ghost Ogre, anything like that. Because all of those affect cards on the field. Because they banish themselves as a cost, they're no longer on the field, therefore their effects are not negated. So if you summon a Farm Girl and then you activate the effect, and your opponent tries to chain like Effect Veiler or Breakthrough Skill or anything like that, it's not on the field anymore, so its effect can't be negated. Okay, so now let's talk about using Cosmo Town, the second most important thing the deck has to do. So you want to see Cosmo as soon as possible. You ideally want to open with it, or if not, you want to search it off your Farm Girl first, if you already have a ship. And then it's not really that good in multiples, because it doesn't do anything when you do have more than one, and it can't be shuffled back into your deck. So when you do have multiple Cosmo Towns, what you'd ideally want to do is summon your Farm Girl, and then attack, use Farm Girl's effect, search a Slip Rider, banish Farm Girl to summon a Slip Rider, and use Slip Rider's effect to destroy your Cosmo Town, and then you search a different card based upon your situation. You use Cosmo Town's effect to say search a Forerunner if you're afraid that your Slip Rider might die, like if they have a stronger monster, because then Slip Rider's going to be destroyed, you can summon a lower level Cosmo, then banish that for Forerunner, and then be back in an aggressive position. You might want to use it to search Good Witch if, say, you need to get over a monster that's attack is too high for Forerunner. Like, say, a Valk or a Goyo Guardian, anything like that. There are a lot of monsters with high attack. And then you would use the one to search a second Slip Rider Slip Rider, Slip Runner. You want to search another Slip Rider if they have more back row. So in that case, your Slip Rider gets destroyed, and then you summon like a Good Witch or a Farm Girl. Then you banish that to destroy another back row, and then you can actually loop like that as well. So you do that, and then they destroy it. They destroy your Slip Rider. You get a Farm Girl or Good Witch. You banish that to summon another Slip Rider. You can destroy one of their back row. When that gets destroyed, you can summon another Farm Girl or Good Witch. And then if you have another ship in your hand, you can keep going like that. So, again, this deck has a good recursion ability due to the monsters floating. And so you can keep doing that depending on how many Cosmo Towns you have left in your deck. Because you can keep destroying your town, searching back whatever else you need to search, and it's pretty ridiculous. So, I've got a few more tips before I let you guys go. I think I've got about 5 of them. The first one is, when you have a Dark Hole or a Torrential Tribute, you need to get rid of your opponent's monsters. Don't summon a Farm Girl or Good Witch and do that. Summon a Slip Runner or a Forerunner to do that. So that way, when that's destroyed, you can destroy all your opponent's monsters too. Then you can trigger Slip Rider or Forerunner's effect to summon a Farm Girl and attack directly now that they won't have any monsters. The second tip is playing around Mind Crush. So, Mind Crush can hit you because you do a lot of searching in the deck, especially off of Farm Girl. So when you attack with Farm Girl, you're searching during the damage step, so your opponent can't play Mind Crush then. However, after it resolves and you go back to the battle step, they can. But you can also use Farm Girl's effect during the battle step. So say that you're in the battle step and your opponent plays a Mind Crush, calling whatever ship you called. I mean, not ship you called, but whatever ship you searched. You can chain Farm Girl's effect to summon that ship. And now that the ship's not in your hand, your opponent will have to discard a card. However, if you are reading that they have a Mind Crush, you will be vulnerable to it if you do search any monster that you can't summon off a Farm Girl. So like if you search another Farm Girl, for example, or if you search a Cosmo Town, you will be vulnerable to Mind Crush. And the same thing with Cosmo Town. So when you're adding banished cards back to your hand, if you're reading that they have a Mind Crush, don't add back something that you can't summon immediately off of a monster you have to field. Or if you have like a Farm Girl in your hand or a Good Witch in your hand, and then you have a banished, it doesn't matter, Slip Rider. Make sure that you summon your Good Witch or Farm Girl first, then add back your Slip Rider, so then if they play Mind Crush calling Slip Rider, you can go ahead and summon it immediately. The next tip is that realize that you can use Farm Girl and Good Witch's effect during either player's turn, so it's useful a lot of times to hold on to a Slip Rider, and then, like if you can't OTK your opponent, then you have a Slip Rider in your hand, it's useful to hold on to that sometimes. So if your opponent sets any back row, you can go ahead during their main phase 2 or their end phase, whenever they set it. You can banish your Farm Girl or Good Witch, summon the Slip Rider, destroy it, then on your next turn play Cosmo Town, get back your Farm Girl, and you can attack without fear of back row. And then finally, it's more important, or I should say it's better, to summon your Slip Rider off of a Forerunner than it is off of a Farm Girl. And when I say off of Farm Girl, I mean by searching it and then summoning it. And the reason behind that is, again, you want to be the aggressor at all times in the game. And when you summon Slip Rider, it doesn't put you in a very aggressive position because it does only have 2300 attack. It can be targeted, all that stuff. It's not very hard to get out the field. And when it destroys a spell or trap, that's a one-time thing. It doesn't last. However, when you summon Forerunner, it continuously can't be targeted. It does have 2800 attack. It's very hard to get off the field. It gains you life points. And when Forerunner is destroyed, it can actually get you a Slip Rider. Whereas when Slip Rider is destroyed, you can only get a Farm Girl or a Good Witch. And so that's why it's usually better to summon Forerunner first. Unless your opponent does have something that you have to get off the field, like say a Necro Valley or a Cleafort Scout, or you just have to get rid of some back row, then it's definitely better to get Slip Rider. But if they don't, and it's just, just all monsters, it's usually better to get Forerunner. But alright guys, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and look forward to the next part of this series, which will be about deck building, and then the last part will be about side decking and different matchups. So please like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys later.